Hello, and welcome to Zap the Gender Pay Gap, the podcast series where we expose the elephant in the room. The elephant's name, the gender pay gap. I am coming to you from Memphis, Tennessee, located on the banks of the mighty Mississippi River. Nestled in the southwest corner of the state, Memphis is home to the blues, barbecue, and so much more. I am your host, Gwendolyn Tucker.
Thank you so very much for joining me for this episode of Zap the Gender Pay Gap. I am your host, Gwendolyn Tucker. Look for me on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, and other platforms where you find your favorite podcast. And please don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a review too. I'd greatly appreciate it. On last week's episode, I told you that I would talk with you about ways you may be leaving money on the table when it comes to pay and asking for a raise. But that will have to wait for the next episode. For today, I have another topic. And as you can tell by the title, speeding and getting stopped by the police has absolutely nothing to do with zapping the gender pay gap. But I just had to tell you about this experience. If you hang around to the end, you'll hear my reasons why. Okay, what happened was I had a busy day and with several meetings out of the office, and I mapped out my plan, making sure I allowed for enough travel time between meetings. I got up early, even got in some exercise, and off I went. On the way to my first appointment, I encountered traffic and thought I would be running a little late. So I radioed ahead, AKA sent a text to let our client know that I may be 10 minutes behind. I didn't want to keep them waiting, so I asked if his lead team could complete a particular exercise that we could discuss once I arrived. As good fortune, or should I say, the good Lord would have it, I didn't arrive 10 minutes late after all. I got there 5 minutes early. Yay! That was a huge answer to prayer. You know why? I really hate to be late. Have you heard the saying, early is on time and on time is late? Well, someone later added, and late is fired. So you see, I prefer being early. The early bird gets the best seat in the house because this bird definitely does not like worms. Anywho, back to what I was saying. So I wrapped up my session and headed off to my next appointment, which was a luncheon at the Botanic Gardens. So off I go. The organizer said that it was a full house. Actually, there was a wait list. So try to arrive early to get a parking space close to the venue and a good seat at the event. I was very intentional about giving myself more than enough time in case the drive to the luncheon would take longer than expected. In my mind, I mapped out the best path, or so I thought, and was on my way. I decided to take the expressway. It was the fastest route, plus traffic should be pretty light at 11:30 a.m. in Memphis. Have you ever been to Memphis? If so, you may know or remember the lay of the land. If not, please come soon. I'd love to see you walking in Memphis. I could even hook you up with a wonderful guide who will gladly take you on a tour of possibilities to discover some of the best things Memphis has to offer. Okay, back to my story. So I left downtown and headed east. I didn't imagine what would happen next. I was coming from downtown and got onto Sam Cooper. There's construction going on. Maybe you can relate. Maybe there's construction going on in your city too. And I knew that one of the exits was closed, but I didn't remember which one. I took a guess that the Perkins exit was open, and I guessed wrong. Now, just as an aside, don't you think there should have been a sign that the Perkins exit was closed due to construction? I know, I do too. Okay, okay. So when I got to Perkins, saw that it was closed, and I just accepted the fact that I would have to go out of my way and swing around. I still had plenty of time, so my stress level was fairly moderate. I was trucking along, and yes, I was speeding in a neighborhood, no less, and I got caught. When I saw the police, I thought to myself, oh no, Please don't let him get me. But the officer quickly pulled out, turned on his flashing lights, and drove up behind me. So I put on my blinker to pull into a side street so as not to block oncoming traffic. Now, I usually ride with my purse up front with me in the car, but this time my wallet was in the trunk. So to expedite time, I popped the trunk and got out of the car. I think I can hear you say, stay in the car and don't pop open the trunk. But okay, I did. At least I had the presence of mind to ask the officer and if I could open the trunk to get my license. And he said it was okay. He said yes. I gave him my license and he asked me to go and wait in the car. As I was waiting, I was wondering how much is this ticket going to cost or if it would be a hit on our insurance. Now, I was less than 5 minutes from the venue, so I wasn't really worried about getting there late, but my stress level was rising. When the officer returned to the car, he said he was giving me a warning. Yay! What a relief. Ah, that was a relief. And then he said, the next time you're stopped, please stay in the car until the officer tells you to get out. You may get a scared cop. I was good until he said that last part. As you can imagine, many thoughts flashed before my eyes, most of them bad. This could have been a traffic stop gone really wrong, all because, in my haste to expedite matters, I made some innocent moves. So, you know what came next? My emotions were so high that I had to choke back tears as I thanked the officer. But after taking time to compose myself, I continued on my way, this time driving safely within the speed limit and with much gratefulness in my heart. I was very thankful to the officer for a couple of reasons. One, he issued a warning instead of a ticket. And two, he gave me a bit of advice that I will probably never forget. Another bit of good news, I made it to my event with time to spare. And for that, I was thankful too. That experience taught me some lessons, and the officer gave me some advice that I have felt compelled to share with you. Why? Because perhaps you can learn from my mistakes. Earlier, when I told you that this had nothing to do with zapping the gender pay gap, but that I had my reasons for sharing this experience, this is why. One, please drive within the speed limit. Two, if you do speed, please stay under the radar and within the limits so you don't get caught. Three, if you do get caught, don't get out of the car or pop the trunk. Wait until the officer gives instructions. As I reflected on this experience and thought about what could have happened, man, my emotions were really high. But as I think more about it, I'm thankful the officer was experienced and wasn't threatened by my actions. I'm also thankful he cared enough to give me instructions so that in the event that I get stopped for speeding in the future, I could adhere to those instructions. But I don't plan to get stopped in the future. I do thank you for allowing me to share about my experience speeding and getting stopped. I hope you never get stopped. And I hope that at least you get one takeaway from what I'm sharing today in the hopes that you will not repeat the mistakes I made. It had been a long time since I had gotten stopped for speeding. And as I said earlier, I really don't plan to do so anytime soon. So thank you very much. Now, just in case you want to talk with me about zapping your gender pay gap, I'd be happy to do so. It would be an honor to assist you with that. If you're interested in setting up a call to find out how I may be able to assist you and to determine if we are a good fit, please message me. Go to gwendolynjtucker.com and click on contact. A link is in the description box below. You can reach out to me there. Thank you again for joining me for this episode of my podcast. Please plan to join me next time to hear some ways you may be leaving money on the table, which could be going into your bank account. Why? Because women, you work hard for your money. I want to make sure you get all of it. If you like what you hear here, please invite a woman in your world to listen in too. If you missed the previous episode, please take a listen. Now, I look forward to seeing you here next Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time for the next episode of Zap the Gender Pay Gap. Until then, please be well.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of Zap the Gender Pay Gap. Please rate, review, and subscribe to or follow me wherever you get your favorite podcast. I am your host, Gwendolyn Tucker. Thanks so much for listening. See you next time.